Okay, so what exactly is the basic element once you have the pen paper inside your hand? Just come on. First thing is, my dear students, the idea. Very well done. Fine motor skills. Yes, skills की तो बात होगी ना. Skills की बात होगी. The first and foremost, let me move to my next slide. Is there anything you can guess with this slide? Graphic design, the basic elements of graphic design. What does this word stands for? Or if you do not have any idea, let me explain. The first and foremost, this first C stands for the colors. The basic element of graphic design, you must have to have the sense of colors. Whenever you use the pencil, whenever you use the marker, pen, or anything, you must have to have the sense of colors first, and then the shapes, right? And then the, yes, exactly. Now few lines you just said before. Okay, let me start from again. I'm basically talking, as this is our first class of graphic design, so we are talking about the basic concepts, the basic elements of graphic design. So I started up कि basic elements पे जाने से पहले what exactly is the thing which should have in your hand, and that is the pen and paper, either pencil or paper, so that you can start anything. Whatever that comes into your mind, that should have been translated as a graphic designer. Correct? So that is something, the first thing we have started up. Then the next, actually this slide came, and I'll be explaining this whole thing. I just do not want कि unnecessarily मैं इसमें कुछ ambiguity या कुछ something like I just want कि आपसे मैं कोई question answer session, not at all, but to give you the basic knowledge of the graphic design elements, क्योंकि ये वो elements हैं जिनको during this whole course we will be applying, we will be using, and बार बार we will be using. And आज उसका first session है, and today we will be starting all those basic elements and basic shapes. Start करेंगे from the basic tools. Absolutely correct. So the first C stands for colors. I would request, if you do not have pen paper, please make it for the next classes, make it possible that you must have to have all those basic things inside along with your laptop, computers, जिस पर भी आप हैं उसके साथ available होनी चाहिए. The first C stands for the colors. The color sense, that is the basic element you must have to have being a graphic designer inside your brain. ये sense आप में होनी चाहिए. Because now let me give you an option. Colors में, whenever you are trying to draw let's suppose a sun, what should be the color of sun? That is quite obvious. That is quite obvious. The color of this box, yes, absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Yes, yellow and pale yellow and rigid किस्म का yellow color. When it comes to the next is shapes. When I ask you, or let's suppose when I take the same example, if you are trying to draw a sun shape, would you like to draw a triangle? Would you like to draw a square? Or would you like to draw a circle? That is quite obvious. That is the basic sense. As I'm talking about the first, Afroz said square. Very well done, Afroz. You have nailed down. Inshallah, you will become a very big graphic designer, inshallah, very soon. Okay. When you are trying to create a sun, dear students, that, okay, no problem. This happens. Okay. Then the next is texture. Texture is very, very important thing. By any means, let me take again the same example. Once you are trying to create a sketch or the basic sketch of sun, you're not supposed, the texture should not be supposed to be like any other color other than yellow, right? Then the next is this, the lower bottom is S, that is actually the size. It is quite obvious that you must have to have the basic sense of creating graphic design. What exactly are the things which should be bigger, which should be lower, which should be smaller, which should be towards the left side, which should be towards the right side? That is something we will be discussing in a couple of lectures, and then uske baad we will be moving. These are the basics things which I must want that you should be very much known to this. It can't be kept smaller, but when it comes to the distance, then what would happen? When it comes to the distance, of course, that has to be smaller, right? So that is something you must have to. I'm pretty sure ये सारी की सारी चीजें quite obvious आप सबके mind में already है. I'm not supposed to tell you anything new. The only the idea behind this whole study is, या this whole subject is just to brainstorm या आपके माइंड को दोबारा एक दफा रिवाइव कर देना उस सेंस में, सो दैट कि आपके अंदर जो बैठा हुआ ग्राफिक डिजाइनर है, जो सोया हुआ ग्राफिक डिजाइनर है ना, he should wake up now. Today he should wake up. So he started doing thinking on these lines as graphic designer thinks, right? So the D stands for the directions. Direction is quite obvious. If this is, let's take the same example again, sunlight, and what would be the direction of shadow? That is something, the basic element. ये वो सारी सारी basic चीजें हैं which you must have to have inside your mind. Then of course the ultimate thing is the lines, because lines की मदद से we create different shapes, we distinguish different shapes. When there are 2 or 3 different sort of shapes, we try to merge or differentiate between the things. That is the line which actually distinguish between one and the other, regardless that line is black, that line is white, or that line is any other color. And then is of course the typographic. Typographic means you must have to have a correct message with the object which you have drawn. हमने इस example में, today is the first lecture and we took up the example, and honest to God it was not at all planned. I just make up my mind कि what should be the first thing we should have been discussing as the basic element. So बैठे बैठे मुझे that came into my mind, चलो let's take the example of a sun. So the typographic is something which will explain what exactly is the message which you are trying. Afroz, let me reach to the T first. T stands for typographic. Typographic means the text, the message which you are trying to create, which you are trying to portray with the basic things. या जो भी आपने, let's suppose आपने sun बना दिया, but what exactly is the message which you are trying to portray with the sun? That is the typographic. That is why it is called the very basic graphic design elements, right? So this is it. I think isse zyada this is, by the way, when you go into the graphic design class, when you go into the bachelor's of graphic design, this is the thing which usually teachers ask you to start learning these things and remembering these things, correct? Okay, let me repeat this for one more time, but I should not be repeating this. The reason is that there's a recording that is going on and you can review this through recordings, correct? As we are running short of time, हमने बहुत सारी चीजें डिस्कस करनी है, so please do not ask me to repeat again. In case anything goes wrong or anything which you clearly I missed, so then you can ask, correct? So let me go one step ahead of this, and this is the slide which inshallah after the session I will be sharing with you to explain the lines. A line is a make between 2 points. Shape is a height, width, and things like this. Value means different, space means different, size means different, texture means different, color means different. This is something which I'll be explaining. I should not be explaining. This is self-explanatory, right? So let me start straight away creating these basic shapes, और इन्हीं सारी चीजों को हम उसमें study करेंगे. Okay, so let's start our basic things, a basic first lecture first, and just give me 5 seconds and we can start our basic course. Okay, please confirm, can you see my screen now? Is there anyone who can see my screen now? Please confirm in the chat box. Okay, perfect. So is there anyone who can guess what exactly is the software which I have just started? That's the name written on it. by the way, and that is called perfect. That is called the basic. आज का चूंकि बिल्कुल basic है, इसलिए I am not moving towards any other complex softwares like Photoshop, your Illustrator, your any other thing. No, nothing like this, right? So today's as our first interaction, first orientation of the graphic design or the basic elements. So this actually starts from the shapes, and shapes are the best tools in the PowerPoint as an explanation, right? So when you move, I'm pretty sure you must all have this at least one software that is with you, and you just open it up, the basics PowerPoint, regardless the version which you have, कोई भी version you can use, and you can open up with the insert tab. There is a shapes. There are multiple different type of shapes, but if, as I told you earlier, there are basic type of shapes, so we will be discussing colors, we will be discussing shapes, and these are the basic shapes. इसी में we will be discussing textures, we will be discussing size, directions, lines, and typography. Correct? So the first thing is the color. Like in colors, before starting up color, let me choose something first. Jisme we have to place. No, not necessarily, Hath Khan. You're not supposed to open this PowerPoint. Just go through this. After this session, I will be sharing this whole conversation, this training through YouTube, so you can review that videos again and again, and practice this at that time. Correct? This is something which I told in the startup class, so please, I would request you to follow this, follow the instructions. So let's create the first shape. The first shape, when you go to the shape, is the line. Just click on this and there's the line. Correct? You can draw at any time, any which on any side. That is something which you can very easily create. So let me do delete or backspace, from where you can just go to this backside again, and let's draw the basic other shapes things first. Voice problem again, please confirm. Is there anyone having voice problem? I don't think so. There's no problem from my side. Please check your speakers or internet connectivity. Ahmed Abbas, raised hand. Okay, no problem as far as my voice is concerned. Please confirm your internet might be something wrong. Perfect, thank you. So, please, a question answer would be in the last 5 minutes. Last 5 minutes is only for the question. Okay, so no worries. If you cannot listen me, nothing is to be worried, right? There must have been internet sort of things that is not neither in my hand nor in your hands, right? So if that is the problem, no worries. The recording will be uploaded and you can view that from there. So let's move back to the shape. The first thing was the line. The second thing was the circle shapes. Circles where that is the circle shape. And now you can put up any sort of color in it. How can you create, how can you fill the color in it? There are multiple options to do it. One is double click and shape fill. From here you can fill up with the any color, whatever you like, whatever you want. And then of course line. The line is just the outside line, and from shape outside you can go and create any sort of line. Not only create line, but the height and the width, and that is something which you all can do. That will distinguish this design more. The first thing, correct? So these are the basic examples of the shapes. Shapes ke baad we will move towards the textures. Different type of textures. Let's suppose we make one copy here. Let me go and let me create one copy here. So the purpose is not this to tell you or to teach you the basics of PowerPoint. So I'm pretty sure आप सबको PowerPoint आता होगा. So nothing is to be ये मैंने actually आपको teach नहीं करना. ठीक है ना? So right click on this and let's move to the format shapes. And format shapes से जाके you can just pictures, and there are multiple different type of textures available. These are actually the basic things of textures, correct? Instead of this, you can create any sort of thing. Now let's move towards that side. We are trying to create something. How you copy it, that is not something which which is actually okay. Let me do this again. I think, by the way, this was not the part of the class ki I should be telling you how to operate this PowerPoint, but anyway, chale, let me tell you. That is the circle. From the insert shapes, you created this design, right? With the help, chalo, let me do this again so that ke ye bhi confusion clear ho jaye. With the help of shift key on the keyboard, आप शिफ्ट की से अगर नहीं करेंगे, शिफ्ट की को प्रेस नहीं करेंगे, तो दिस वुड बी अ दिस सॉर्ट ऑफ शेप. इस तरह किसी भी ऑड शेप का सर्कल, ओवल और एनीथिंग means height and width not equal, correct? But when you press shift key, it will be exactly the straight, height and width remain the same, right? So that is something. Uske baad what I have to do is either double click, say shape fill, or maybe right click and format shape से जाके no fill and solid fill, यहाँ से भी आप कलर दे सकते हैं. Let me cancel this. और shape से जाके from here you can do this all again. You can fill with any sort of color. Let's suppose we go with this color, and the shape outline would be something like this, as it is not visible because very thin. So let's make it thick, right? So how did I copy this? Just press the control key and drag it either up, down, और जहां पे भी आप जाके इसको प्लेस करना चाहते हैं, you can just place it. क्लिक को छोड़ेंगे, माउस के क्लिक को रिलीज करेंगे, and that will be copied, correct? But there is another option. Once you press control key, it देखिए mouse का cursor change हो गया. So that means you have to copy this somewhere here or anywhere. लेकिन with the help of साथ ही अगर इसी के साथ add on shift की कर लें, so it will be exactly parallel to this, absolutely parallel to this. It is not going anywhere. देखिए मैं mouse को ऊपर या नीचे जिस भी एंगल पे करूं, it would be exactly बिल्कुल उसके parallel में आ जाएगा. Okay, I hope this makes sense now. Thank you. And further is just drag करना है. Let me drag it again with the help of one control key press, then click, and shift key के साथ there's another copy of this, correct? So that's how you can make multiple copies of this. Now इसमें we have to change different things. Let's suppose, for example, today is the topic of creating shapes. So let's suppose Manal, okay, let me go with this. Format पे जाएं and let's change the shape of this color. I'm not interested to have this sort of shape. Instead of this, I want this sort of shape. Okay, so let me click this, go to format, say edit shape, and change shape, say let me go to this shape, correct? So that is the interesting part of the basic shapes which we will be creating in the graphic design. Now if you have the pen paper, you can draw any sketch on your paper, and from where you can move towards the computer, and that is the basic software, right? For only for 2 or 3 days, not more than 2 days. I am not at all interested to teach you the PowerPoints, but as जिस खूबसूरत अंदाज में इंसर्ट से ये शेप्स पावर पॉइंट ने बताई हैं, कोई और सॉफ्टवेयर ऐसे नहीं बताता, राइट? सो दैट इज व्हाई आई एम इंटरेस्टेड. मैं पिछली क्लास की रिकॉर्डिंग्स भी आप लोगों से शेयर कर दूंगा फॉर द प्रैक्टिस पर्पस, एंड जो आज हमने किया ये भी रिकॉर्डिंग आपके साथ शेयर हो जाएगी, सो दैट कि आपके पास मल्टीपल ऑप्शंस आ जाएं टू ड्रॉ एनी शेप, टू क्रिएट एनीथिंग न्यू फ्रॉम एनीथिंग. That is the beauty of shapes, and especially with the PowerPoint shapes. Let's suppose this is something I want this, instead of circle, this should be square. So either double click and go to this format, say here it is the edit shape, and change shape to this. It is as simple as that. Does it make sense? Any confusion so far? If there is any confusion, you can just speak in the chat box. I'm pretty sure कि okay, perfect. इससे simplest way में, खूबसूरत style में आपको understand करने के लिए, that is the basic first rule. Okay, let me go again to this edit shape and change shape to, let's suppose I'm interested to go for something like this. Okay, so that is the basic formula of the shapes. Tomorrow what we will do is that no, I'm not going to repeat, Manal. You have to go through these recordings. That recording will be shared, and from here we will get started, right? So ये है वो basic shapes. अब हम चलते हैं इसके बाद नेक्स्ट चीज के ऊपर, शेप्स के बाद टेक्सचर्स. एज आई टोल्ड यू अर्लियर, किसी चीज का टेक्सचर अगर आपने बेसिक शेप का चेंज करना है तो you just click or right click format shape and then उस पे जाके you can find that's the texture file, that is the textures. आप by the way अपनी choice का texture भी place कर सकते हैं, right? And from you can pick any sort of texture from here which is actually freely available, और जहां से जाके you can pick anything, any color, और उसके बाद जाके उसकी settings को थोड़ा बहुत change, ये देखिए यहाँ से जाके you can just change the height and offset uska and things like this. You can very easily change up anything, correct? So this is called textures. And now colors हो गए, उसके बाद textures हो गए, उसके बाद और yes of course shapes हो गई, ये different shapes हमने study की थी. And then उसके बाद what was this, the size, quite obvious. Now the most important thing is the size. Let me this is something mom and kids, you have to do it by yourself, right? This is your assignment, right? This is your assignment, this is something you have to do. कि ये जो आपकी choices हैं, जो जो आपकी choices हैं, ये जाके आपने यहाँ से, this is something you have to do it by yourself, right? So please I would request कि आप इसको up to you रखें, right? Now the size, the most important thing is the size. When you are going to create different sort of shapes, different sort of graphic design elements, the most important thing is once maybe it comes to the size bigger than this. अगर let's suppose if we take the example of this, अगर मैं इसको इसके अंदर place करना चाहूँ, so what do you think? Is it inside? मेरे पास दोनों shapes visible हैं? That's quite obvious. These are not visible. So what we have to do, we have to make the shape of this smaller, okay, so that it should be somewhere in between this, right? So this is something very important for understanding purpose, that the size and all those sort of things that should have been in the correct lines, correct orders. Line is something which we have already studied. Let's suppose insert se jaye, there are so many different shapes. For example, this, आप यहाँ से पकड़ के इसको, let's make it with this one. Is there anyone who can guide me? ये मुझसे straight नहीं हो रही. How can I make it straight? Either it goes up, it goes down. That is something which I usually ask to my every student, so that कि जो आपके अंदर का graphic designer है, that should wake up now, because now you are in the graphic design class. Mohammed Muzaffar, Zareen Taj, and I don't know who is this, RR, whosoever is this, Asma Mazhar. Excellent. Clap from my side. Nail down, Rubab. Excellent. Perfect. That is what I want. That आपका attention should be of that kind कि once जब भी मैं कोई चीज आपको बताऊं, you should have kept that in mind. Instead of going towards line this, let's press shift key and that will be straight, absolutely dead straight, correct? So let me create another shape from line from here, and let's start and create some sort of basic shapes from here. So something like this you can very easily create with these sort of things. अब आ जाते हैं last topic की तरफ, that is the typography. Ramisha, please, once you log in tomorrow, RR means I just do not understand what does this mean. So जब आप log in करने लगे तो the system will ask your name. So there you must have to mention your name, correct? So the next important, the last thing is the, what exactly is this shape? What exactly is this shape? Let me do one thing. मैं इसको थोड़ा सा, let me bring it somewhere here, and so that कि मैं दो experiments आपके साथ करने जा रहा हूँ. And what do you think? What is this? And what do you think? What is this shape? So, what do you think? Is it circle? Yes, circle. 100%. This is circle. But I'm not asking you to to write down exactly what this shape means. इसके साथ what I'm supposed to write, what I'm supposed to write with this shape. Okay, let me take the example. 100%. Absolutely correct. Very well done. That is called the typographic. Typographic will explain this whole process. What does this mean? What this shape is talking? What we are talking. So let's do this. Take a text from here, and that's a smiley face, right? Or uske baad what you can do is, and that is the angry face or something like this. That's a neutral face, and that is a sad face, correct? So that is sad face. Okay, and this is a kind of something curious, or maybe what you can say is that what is this, what is this, what should be the name of this kind of a serious, yeah, yeah, you can say it neutral, maybe kind of anything. Like, just I'm giving you the example, a neutral face. I mean, this is no expressions. No expression means that I can't figure out that what does this mean, right? So let me go for this 100% straight, so that it's a neutral face. It is not giving us any kind of expressions. So expressionless face or something like this. Okay, so dear student, that is something of basics. That is something of today's the class. Tomorrow, inshallah, what we will be doing. Just tomorrow is the last class for these basic shapes, and then we will be straight away moving towards this Photoshop, and then uske baad there is plenty of things जो कि rather I would say a bombardment of information that's coming to your side. So let's be ready. आज हमने थोड़ा सा shapes को देखा, कल हम इन शेप्स को मॉडिफाई करना सीखेंगे. मॉडिफाई करके किसी भी ऑड शेप में, इफ यू वांट टू मेक दिस इन एन any odd shape, so that is something we will be discussing tomorrow. Is there any specific question of today's session which you wanted to ask? Send this class link. What does this mean? Asan Ayaz, I am sorry, what does this mean? The recording, you mean recording? Hassan, please. Okay, yes, of course, that is something. Yeah. That's of course, Mariam. Thank you. Thanks for clarification. Yes, of course, that's my commitment, and that's what I ask you. That inshallah, what we'll do is that I'll be sharing the recording, almost the recording of every class. Also, not only this, this is the assignment. जो भी आज हमने किया, you have to come up with all those different type of shapes. ठीक है ना? ये देखिए, इंसर्ट से जाएं, देयर आर सो मेनी डिफरेंट शेप्स. लेट मी सी कि आप इन शेप से क्या चीज क्रिएट करते हैं. मैं आपको कुछ वीडियोस के लिंक्स भिजवाऊंगा. दोज क्लासेस आर फ्रॉम आवर प्रीवियस सेशंस. दोज आर फ्री टॉपिक्स, फ्री टू लर्न फ्रॉम दोज टॉपिक्स. आप बेशक उनमें से कोई ना कोई टॉपिक्स उठाएं और उनसे क्रिएट करना शुरू करें, एंड स्काई इज द लिमिट्स. करेक्ट? सो आई एम प्रीटी श्योर दैट this 45 minutes lecture conclusion means at least you will have to spend 2 to 3 hours more to come up with the assignments also, right? So there's no compulsion. I must say, I would request कि आप जरूर अपनी assignments अपने group के ऊपर upload करें, and I'll be commenting on each and every topic. That's the precedence of this complete course. जब भी आप सबमिट कर रहे, जिस टाइम आपका असाइनमेंट्स कंप्लीट हो जाएं, व्हाट यू कैन डू इज, इतने सारे माशाल्लाह स्टूडेंट्स हैं, वी हैव अबाउट 32-33 टुडे, एंड आप जब भी जिसको भी जो टाइम मिले, लेट्स क्रिएट डिफरेंट सॉर्ट ऑफ थिंग्स. उसके बाद यू नीड टू अपलोड ऑल दोस थ्रू ऑन व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप, आइदर टेकन पिक्चर, आइदर शेयर करें एज एन जेपैग एज अ व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में. So whatever the things that you can feel easy, so you can send me. So that's it for at least today's session. So let me stop.